long-sighted. Okay. You're most welcome to the third Mbara University of Science and Technology Supervisors and Mentors Workshop. It has always been a one-day event. This time we decided to have it in 1.5 days because there is really a lot that we really need to pick up. And we are just right on time. We're just right on time. I hope you have had a meal. It is important for us to eat something. As per our program, sometimes it's good to know ourselves. I think we will do an opening prayer, and then I'll give the remarks on behalf of Professor Kamkama. He's from a top management meeting, and he has gone to chair another meeting. So I hope maybe he can join us later on, but I can give the remarks on his behalf. But we will have an opening prayer, and then it would be important to know ourselves, right? So I hope there is a second microphone that can move through. You just tell us your name and etc. Name, department. We don't want to point you who is tall, you who is short, you in a dark shirt, you in brown trouser, you in specs. Yeah, I like identifying people by their names. At least the faces here, I know most of the names, and it would be good for us to interact freely and beautiful. So I'll give an opening prayer, and then we can do some quick introductions, and then we'll give some remarks, and then we kick start. Yeah? Perfect. Lord, we thank you for this afternoon. We thank you for the third Supervisors and Mentors Workshop. Give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, even as we discuss quite a number of things. May we learn, may we unlearn what we have learned before, and may we get new things that will motivate us to mentor, to be mentored, and improve ourselves. We pray all this through your name. Amen. Yes, we can have a quick, we shall move like this. You tell us your name, the department. What else? What else do we need to know? Okay, name and then department, yeah. Good.
Kazewe Haman, from Department of Physiotherapy, Faculty of Medicine.
Okay. Batwala Vincent, I'm from Department of Community Health, Faculty of Medicine.
Good afternoon, Doreen Nako, Department of ENT, Faculty of Medicine.
I'm Jenny Godfrey, Obstetrics Gynecology, Faculty of Medicine. Thank you.
I'm Manya Martin, Department of Pharmacology.
Tom Ogwang, Department of Planning and Governance.
Prudence Kemicha, Department of Community Engagement and Service Learning.
Felix Oyania, Department of Surgery, Faculty of Medicine.
Rosemary Namayanja, Department of Physiology, Faculty of Medicine.
Simon Peter Rugera, Department of Medical Laboratory Science.
Esther Atkunda, Department of Pharmacy.
John Eminyu, mathematician. Thank you.
Kanyes J. Hamson from Maternal, Newborn and Child Health Department.
Martin Karhanga, Department of Mathematics.
Kabarunji Maureen, IT, Faculty of Computing and Informatics.
Benjamin Msita, Department of Economics.
My name is Mukasa Paul, Department of Chemistry.
Ada Chelsea Ma, Electrical Engineering, Faculty of Applied Sciences and Technology.
William Waswa, Department of Biomedical Sciences and Engineering, Faculty of Applied Science and Technology.
Peter Olds, Mass General Hospital and Global Health Collaborative.
I am Mark Seidner, Mass General Hospital.
My name is Tracy with The Village.
My name is Robert Saibirni. I'm the technology lead for The Village.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Haber from Massachusetts General Hospital and The Village.
Good afternoon. I'm David Banksburg, Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And I think I still have an honorary professorship at Embrar University of Science and Technology. Do I still? Yeah, I'll reclaim it. I'll reclaim it.
Peter Bambanza, ICT Services, MAST.
Annette Kembabazi, Global Health Collaborative.
Owen Mhanji, Computing Services Department.
Valiant Dialachiti.
Okay, I think that is all. And Fred Kagwa is my name, Faculty of Computing and Informatics. All protocol observed. Our Vice Chancellor is on official duties in Kampala. She's not able to be with us, but she will join us tomorrow. And I want to recognize most of us, but very, very importantly, the MGH team. And that is Mark, Jessica, we have Professor David, and then we have Peter, and then we have the village team, and every one of us, all the mentors and mentees present, members of the organizing committee. Could you raise your hands? Yes, there is Esther, there is Annette, there is Owen, there is every one of us here, Jessica and team. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and you're most welcome. It is my distinct honor to welcome each one of you to the third MAST Research Supervisors and Mentors Workshop. And on behalf of the organizing committee, I really extend a warm welcome to our esteemed guests who have traveled very far to come and join us. I would really, if I were you, I would give a hand of applause to our guests who have really traveled far to come and support us. To our MAST family who have made it in time, because I know you have very demanding schedules here and there. This gathering represents something very, very, very important to us. It represents our collective commitment to excellence, not just in research output, but also in cultivating the minds and hearts that will shape the future of science, healthcare, and of course in Uganda and beyond. So the journey that has brought us here, this is the third convening under this banner, and of course each workshop has built upon the foundations of the last. We gather not because of mentorship, it's a checkbox to tick. Some of us may just think that this is something to tick, not because it's very fashionable in academia circles, no, but because it's the first transformative power of intentional guidance. Unless we become intentional, we cannot really have mentorship continue. We have seen promising students flourish under attentive supervision, and we have watched junior faculty grow into confident researchers because someone has invested time in their development. And we have also observed how strong mentorship cultures create ripples that extend far beyond individual relationships. Definitely these build institutions, strengthen communities, and they advance the different fields of inquiry. Yet we also know challenges in the demanding environment of academia and research, where publications must be written. I keep asking myself, who started this whole idea of publish and perish? Because academia is now running away from implementation science to see that what you have published is actually important to the communities. But well, that is a discussion for another day, maybe during the annual research dissemination conference. So publications must be written, grants must be secured, clinical duties must be fulfilled, and administrative responsibilities seem endless. Mentorship can actually feel one more burden on already overloaded shoulders. This is very evident. We all experience this on a daily basis. So this workshop exists to challenge the notion on how we can demonstrate that mentorship is not separate from our core work. So that is one of the most important things that we want to have to make sure that at least mentorship is integral to our core work. So from guidance to growth, as one of the themes that we really thought about, that from guidance to growth, building a culture of practical and continuous mentorship. This speaks to evolution. We want to move beyond viewing mentorship as an occasional advice, giving towards seeing it as a sustained, systematic practice that can lead us into fabrics of how we work. So we want to shift from individual acts of just guiding to building an institutional culture where mentorship thrives naturally and continuously. So we are not only looking at you and me getting more involved into continuous mentorship, but we want to build a culture. Recently, when we had a handover for our faculty, I asked members of the faculty that how many of you are comfortable when you are not around and you can ask a colleague to teach a class and you are sure he or she will deliver your class as you would have delivered it. So this is about practicality, giving you tools, frameworks, and approaches that can actually work in the real world. And this is about continuity, recognizing that mentorship is not a one-time intervention, but an ongoing relationship that adapts and deepens over time. So what lies ahead? Over these 1.5 days, we have designed a program that tries to balance inspiration with the institution, theory with practice, and reflection with definitely action. So today, our day one session, of course, focuses on leadership issues. That is why we have most of us as heads of departments, deans and directors, helping us, and we, of course, will have an engagement with Professor Jessica to help us understand mentorship, not as just a soft skill, but as a measurable metric, even for institutional success. This is really something that we can dive into different discussions. So together we'll, of course, conduct a honest assessment here and there, which Esther will also lead, giving us our challenges, successes. Because when we know this, we can really move in a better direction. Of course, also as we look at our aspirations. And we will also be introduced to the village. This is an innovative platform which I've been part of since inception. The team is here. We have continuous meetings here and there. And it is really important in structuring mentorship, which recognizes African wisdom. You know, sometimes we look at tools that are developed elsewhere, but this is African based with the wisdom. So tomorrow, day 2, of course, will open doors to wider, to include our supervisors, mentors, mentees as well. Some mentees might be here because we're head of department by nature of the area of specialization you're handling, but you're also being mentored as a PhD student or in a particular realm. Our Vice Chancellor will speak to us tomorrow when she arrives. Of course, we shall have a keynote address from Professor David here, which will be offering lessons from years in the field. Yesterday, we briefly had a chat with Professor David. You know, when I came in first year at Mbara University, that was 2004, and he had come in 2000. So that was about 4 years when he had just come. So we used to hear David bangs back. So when I completed campus, and that's when I get to really know who he was. And yeah, here he is again after 20-something years to really come and speak to us, offering lessons from the field that really resonate with both seasoned and aspiring mentors. So that is something we need to tap in. I don't want us to miss it out. We will then dive into practical training on mentorship styles, effective communication and feedback, and of course, the art of being honest, yet encouraging. Some of us as mentors, we are not honest. We even discourage, will you be able to do this? There's a better way that we can use to do that. Critical but very constructive. Some of us are very critical, but we are not so constructive. And we hope that we can improve ourselves by tackling most of these pressing questions that we have. How do we integrate meaningful mentorship into lives that are already impossibly full? That is a very, very critical area. And Mark here and David, and of course Jessica, I think this is one of the areas of David that we will really have good discussions on that and how we can achieve a work-life balance while working smarter, not harder. So as we conclude, of course, something historic, the Vice-Chancellor would want to take mentorship as a serious action point for the university, and she'll launch the program, and after that, of course, we will continue. So, of course, I need to call a commitment from us. Let us really be willing to attend at least today and tomorrow. We're asking you to be present, not just physically, but be intentional and emotional in terms of learning and picking out something that is going to help us. Be honest in the discussions. Tomorrow we have mentees. Please, if a mentee brings something and you really see you are the mentor, please don't feel bad. This is an interactive session. And even today's discussions, if we have open discussions, let us be open to new approaches. Even if we are challenged with the current practices, let us be open and collaborative, because strongest mentorship cultures are built not by individuals working in isolation, but we need to collaborate and work together. The younger researchers also, we encourage you, please be around. And before I conclude, allow me to express gratitude to our Vice-Chancellor for really empowering us to have this happen, and everyone who has been on the organizing committee, our international partners, the sponsors. Mentorship Workshop is proudly sponsored by MGH, and this is really very, very important. And I would give them a round of applause because, yeah, the food that we have eaten, the water that we are taking, and the things for tomorrow, and etc. This is really something very, very important. And of course, to our heads of departments, deans, and directors that are present here, very, very much thank you for you turning up to this very, very important event. So in the next 1.5 days, we will learn together, challenge each other, and also emerge as equipped, of course, to fulfill one of academia's most scared responsibilities. If you didn't know, this is one of the most scared responsibilities in academia, mentorship. Yeah. And of course, even in leadership, you've seen challenges in countries. People do not want to leave certain positions because they feel, no, I am the only one who can do it. Yet if you mentor someone, you can be happy when you see them flourish and take you to the next generation. Let us approach this work with seriousness that it deserves, the joy it can bring, and the hope that drives us all. Welcome once again to the third MUST Research Supervisors and Mentors Workshop. Let the journey from guidance to growth begin. Wow. Thank you. I hope I've represented the Vice Chancellor's office very, very well. And yes, we are just right on time. I want to call upon Professor Jessica to take us through the next session. Jessica, you're welcome.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about mentorship. As Fred mentioned, it's the key to success. It's how we all grow, especially in academia. But we are often in a situation exactly like where we are today, where we are talking about how to be mentors and how to do it when it's very difficult to fit into our schedules. It's very difficult to acquire specific skills in mentorship. So I've really racked my brain to think, how do we take it from a discussion where we sometimes spin our wheels and we don't really have solutions to the challenges in mentorship? So we came up with this idea about thinking of mentorship as a metric itself in terms of how we succeed in whatever field we are in. And is there a clicker? I'll just ask you to advance then. Thank you. So this led to some discussions starting about a year ago, and I want you to take a look at the author list. So this was a discussion that the Vice Chancellor and I had when she first became the Vice Chancellor here. And I know she'll talk to us a lot tomorrow about how she sees mentorship, but it was one of the first things we talked about. And so we decided to write this paper, along with a colleague in San Francisco, Monica Gandhi, whose work will be part of what we talk about tomorrow in terms of a curriculum for improving mentorship. Elizabeth Bukusi, Moses Kamya, these may be names you know of. Oh, thank you. From the region in terms of academic leaders who are also very committed to mentorship. And then Yap Boom, who is another co-founder of the Village. So what I'm presenting to you is an idea that really comes from this community, and I think it can really make a difference in what we're trying to do collectively. And the fact that you're here right now shows your commitment to mentorship. So thank you for taking your precious time to be with us today. And ultimately, what we are hoping to do with mentorship is to use it to make a difference. You know, we think about mentorship and doing a lot of different things, but if it is am I doing that? If it's part and parcel of what we do, and we can use it as a way of measuring how well we are doing all of those activities, it may actually lead to higher impact, which I think many of us would appreciate. So what I will talk about in the next 20 minutes or so is basically what we wrote in the paper. So it is published. It came out last month. So please do take a look if you can get a few moments. But I will be talking about how we think about mentorship relationships, just to make sure we're on the same page. And then we'll spend a little bit talking about barriers. I know Esther is going to guide us through a conversation in a short time after my talk, but I'll prime the pump in a way in thinking about why we need new ideas around mentorship to really have that impact. We'll talk about what is out there now, here locally and also elsewhere around the world. And then thinking about this concept of metrics. What do we currently use as metrics? I think Fred mentioned publish or perish. Not an ideal situation, I think, and we can re-envision that by considering mentorship. And then talking about quality, make sure that it is really a good metric. And then why it's so important to do all of this in terms of equity and access for global health, but really for any field. And then I'll have a few concluding remarks. So I don't think I need to tell this audience too much about what mentorship is meant to do. It's really the key to success for so many people and so many careers. It's this foundation. When it's ideal, there's a commitment, there's mutual respect. It's something we come to because we know the value of what mentorship can provide. As a mentee, it'll help you get you where you want to be. And as a mentor, it gives you that fulfillment, that deep personal meaning that can sometimes be lost if we are not working with other people and only doing our own work. So it really adds depth to our professional lives. And when I talk about mentorship, I'm specifically referring to long-term relationships. I think tomorrow we'll have an opportunity to think about different types of mentorship. Some may be more short-term, some may be around certain activities like a PhD. But what I'm talking about right now is really this long-term relationship to advance and support someone's career. We often do think of an older or more senior person mentoring a younger person. It doesn't always have to be that way. It could be peers, it could be group mentoring, but some kind of long-term relationship really building on this foundation of mutual respect. Unfortunately, having these kinds of relationships can often be left to chance, which is one of the reasons we're talking today. And I think this idea of having it be an essential professional activity is really critical. It's, again, something we talk about a lot, and I'm hoping that by thinking about it as a metric of the programs themselves, this may be able to take us to another level. So I probably don't need to go into too much detail about the barriers. I think we have all experienced them. But let me just run through a few, again, to prime the pump, because I hope to hear from all of you in our next session that Esther's going to be moderating, so we can hear what are the most relevant barriers in your own professional lives. So I think someone earlier, maybe it was Fred, mentioned that mentorship is seen as a luxury. It's a nice to have, but not a necessary to have. I think it's seen as something that is often kind of tied to tasks, but not really this long-term fundamental commitment to someone else. It's often equated with supervision, and supervision is very important. It's a part of mentorship, but mentorship itself is so much deeper than that, and being able to get into that depth is sometimes very difficult. Often there are too many mentees for a given mentor, especially in young programs when you're trying to grow. It's hard enough to get your own work done, let alone work with other people. So there's a bit of a supply and demand mismatch. Often people have no training in being a mentor. You're just expected to know how to do it. That's one of the reasons we have workshops like this. You know, this is our 3rd annual mentoring workshop, but it's not often available in many places. Having protected time for a really meaningful commitment to mentorship is lacking in most settings. And then thinking about mentorship as something that actually helps you advance your career, it's often not available. Again, something that's nice to have, but not necessary to have, and therefore does not get included in promotion criteria or performance evaluations. There are so many barriers to this that I have a second page that's titled Barriers to Implementing Mentorship. I think a lot of the barriers stem from lack of funding, and often when there are capacity building funds, especially in a global north, global south relationship, a lot of that directive comes from the funder and is not necessarily under the control of the institution where the mentorship should happen. There may not be enough of a culture around mentorship, and that's so important in being able to move from nice to have to necessary to have. And also there are a lot of competing demands. We all have rent to pay, we have school fees to pay, we have many things we have to do, and there may be things that are more lucrative. Being a consultant, or maybe there's something that's required for your position, like teaching in a classroom as opposed to teaching one-on-one as a mentor. That can take away your ability to have those long-term one-on-one relationships. And then finally, there's not enough emphasis from governments, from funders, from other people to really make this an essential activity. So this is where the idea of thinking about mentorship as a metric came in. So if we can really re-envision ways to make mentorship part of the fabric of what we do in our institutions, maybe we can overcome many of those barriers that I just went through. As I mentioned, there are some programs that can help provide training in mentorship, and in the paper we go into this in some more detail, and again some of the curriculum from the UCSF program will be part of tomorrow's workshop. There are other groups like the University of Washington does quite a bit of work in this area. The National Institutes of Health has a mentoring network. And then looking at more local resources, this one, you know, we're having workshop to train in mentorship today and tomorrow. But there was a systematic review published just last year of about 20 different programs in 12 African countries. So there are programs that are happening. There aren't enough, but they're gaining some momentum. Most of them are driven heavily by Global North partners. Not necessarily a bad thing to work together, but I think that the local ownership is so critical. And there were only 2 out of those 20 that were funded locally. So you can see where some of the barriers are coming from that perspective. But it was nice to see that many of the programs did have specialized capacity building based on what their needs were. So that's something that can hopefully grow in the future. So if we're talking about metrics, we have to start with what are current metrics. As I mentioned, publish or perish is one that's out there. And the papers, grants, the milestones are often considered the currency of our professional lives. And Bill Gates, I'm sure everybody knows Bill Gates, is out there influencing the world and developing programs and funding programs. And he said, I've been struck again and again by how important measurement is to improving the human condition. So if we can think of mentorship as something to measure, as something integral to the work we are doing, that may help us overcome those barriers that I cited. Yeah, that's basically what I said. So let's also think about what are some of the limitations of these metrics, like the publish or perish mantra. So these traditional metrics are in some ways at odds with mentorship. So the amount of time that you spend helping somebody else write a paper may be time that you're not spending on your own paper. So that's already setting up some conflict. If we think about how often a lot of papers, I think Fred sort of alluded to this at the beginning of this afternoon, sometimes people just publish to publish, right? They think that's what's going to get them promoted. And so it's a numbers game. It's not necessarily something that's going to advance science, improve health, really make a difference in whichever aspect of your professional life you're pursuing. Also, the quality of papers can suffer because of predatory journals. AI is taking over. I've seen, like mock papers written by AI entirely. So this goal of papers, grants, and milestones, if we don't have quality in those metrics themselves, we're kind of fooling ourselves that we are actually achieving what we're setting out to do. And when we think about grants, sometimes we write grants so that we can get more grants. The fundamental idea of improving science or advancing health gets lost along the way. And I think there are many ways that, that mentorship can help counteract some of these limitations. So mentors can't do everything. They're not the secret sauce that makes sure that the world improves. But mentors can go a long way in making sure that the quality remains in the work that we are doing on our own and with our mentees. So that we can really focus on the science, the medicine, the public health that goes into those papers, that goes into those grants, so that we are really focusing on quality over quantity. And then in the process, mentors can gain so much from the experience by retaining that quality in the work they do with their mentees and having it benefit themselves as well. Also thinking about mentorship as a way to overcome some of the disparities that are inherent in the field of global health. And at least in America, we kind of stopped talking about disparities in 2025 for a variety of political reasons. But I don't think we should. I think we need to continue. I'm sorry? I don't know. You have to talk to him. Sorry, there's a technical issue online. Okay. So there are still important disparities that we need to acknowledge and address, even though it's somewhat out of vogue politically. And I think with mentors, we can help elevate the talent that may not have access to opportunities otherwise. So there's a real role for mentorship in leveling the playing field and democratizing access to opportunity. And also, many of the opportunities to advance, to the calls that are out there, to getting papers published, it's often sort of the unwritten tricks of the trade that a mentor can really guide a mentee through, and especially thinking about disparities, there's a huge role to play there. Are the slides okay online? Okay. So if you get a chance to take a look at the paper, we go into some more detail on making sure that if we elevate mentorship to a metric itself, that we don't fall into the same trap that we're seeing with papers and grants. So you could have mentorship that is only focused on quantity and not quality. So to make sure we don't do that, we go through a list of different things that could be used to measure the quality of mentorship. Ultimately, it is tricky, I will admit to that, but there are some things we can do, like tracking the amount of time that people spend together, rating each other as mentors and mentees. We'll come back to this when we present the village and how we're thinking about measuring mentorship in that capacity, but that can also be fed back to institutions for a higher level of understanding the quality of this metric. And as you see with the institutions and programs here, there are things that can be done around auditing those kinds of relationships, giving awards for high quality mentorship that really influence the culture around mentorship that can then be reflected in the quality. And it's important to note that this field, global health, or science and technology, is not the only one who's thinking about this. So if you look at the technology industry, a lot of the promotion criteria or hiring criteria involve dossiers of mentorship. That's not something that I've seen a lot in academia, and I think it's something we can learn from. Some consulting firms also have a mentorship index that they use when they're bringing people on board. So there's a lot out there that we can learn from. And I think funders have an absolutely critical role to play here, because if they are requiring this as part of the funding that they give out, it helps us, the people who care about mentorship, really act on these ideals and overcome these barriers. So the NIH traditionally has funded quite a bit when it comes to mentorship in terms of certain grant mechanisms that are often used. Like here, there have been a number of D43s. R25s are educational grants. I've benefited from a K24, which is a mid-career award that promotes mentorship. I know David had some, Mark, he had as a K24. So it's not surprising that those of us in the room have benefited from these resources, but we don't know if that's going to continue, and we need more of them. There are also similar awards through European funders. I think in South Africa they also have similar mechanisms, but we do need more. And finally, I want to kind of think about mentorship as a way, as something that is a resource that we really need to improve the access to. So Louis Pasteur, who many of you have probably heard of, he helped us get clean scientific spaces, pasteurization and so forth. But he said that chance favors only the prepared mind. And so I used to think about this a lot as serendipity, as how serendipity is so important in a mentoring relationship. You happen to meet that one person who's going to make your life so much better and open up so many more opportunities. And that is true in some ways. Sometimes it's just that magical moment when you meet the right person, but it's often really not serendipitous. If people know successful researchers, if they know somebody who's really helped them in the past, they can make those introductions. And that access to those kinds of networks is often driven by our education, our physical location, and our ability to blend networks amongst each other. So why do I have a picture of a house on this slide? So David, could you tell us what house is that? Exactly. So just to explain that a little bit further, this is 3706 22nd Street in San Francisco. It's where I used to live around the year 2000. I only rented a small room. It's a very nice big house, but I rented a small room there. And the other address that David mentioned was? Yeah, so David lived across the street from me. So I have no idea what my professional life would have been like if I had not rented that room. Seriously, right? So that was, in some ways, a truly serendipitous moment because David went on to become my mentor, and I certainly would not be who I am professionally without David's influence over many years. Yes, thank you, David. And so that idea that because I happen to live across the street from David and we happened to have a conversation when I moved back into the US after working for the Clinton Foundation about adherence and blah, 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 blah. It's a long story after that. But if I hadn't had that opportunity, my life would be incredibly different, and so much of the mentorship that I've been able to propagate through my own networks and my own collaborations, none of that would have happened. So how do we make that opportunity available to other people so that it is not so dependent on these quote-unquote serendipitous moments? So we can do that in many ways. Sometimes it's through peer mentorship. As I mentioned earlier, there's often a supply and demand issue. If we support each other as peers, that can increase the access to high-quality mentorship. We're going to talk tomorrow about distance mentorship. How do we do this across institutions? How do we bridge those networks so that more opportunities are available? And then there's internet-based mentorship. So you'll hear a lot about the Village in a few moments. But the Village is something that Yap Boom, who's in the center there, and I started talking about 3 years ago. And Robert, who you'll hear from in just a moment, has been helping us to develop the platform so that we can make those serendipitous moments available everywhere. So in conclusion, I think mentorship metrics will really improve our ability to advance the careers not only of our mentees but ourselves, and to really make them much more fulfilling. It'll take mentorship from this nice to have to something that is really necessary to have. And we can start with some simple, tangible targets. We can look at the number of mentors who have high quality training through workshops like this and others. We can look for awards around mentorship to address the culture that's necessary to really elevate mentorship. We can talk about how to engage in the Village, which we'll go into in a lot of detail shortly. And then we can think about the bidirectional relationship through mentorship so that these dichotomies between the global North and global South do not persist. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was the first thing I mentioned at the beginning of this talk, that thinking about mentorship, again, is something that is really integral to what we do, will help us achieve the impact that we're seeking professionally. So I just wanted to thank David again. So he has really inspired a generation, multiple generations of mentors. So this is something that's very personal, but also I think very inspirational to many. Believe it or not, this photo was from 9 years ago. We've changed a little bit over the ensuing time, but many of these folks are here. What do you think? Exactly the same? Okay. So Lynn is here, Mark is here, I'm here. I think Lynn's daughter is not. But so much of what we've been doing together has stemmed from our relationship with you, David, so thank you.
Do you remember the occasion?
It was when you were leaving, wasn't it?
No, it was when I was promoted to professor.
From this dinner?
I think so. Yeah, Andrew was there.
No, 2 against 1. No, this was, I think, the last dinner before you left to go to Oregon. Yeah, but anyway. And these are 2 grants that have helped fund my time as a mentor. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Professor Jessica, for a wonderful presentation. Dr. Kagwa has just moved out and Angela is not available. So I think without wasting time, we shall invite Dr. Esther Tkunda to take us through the next session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon. Okay. Mine will be very brief. Today I'm here really to talk about mentorship. And specifically, I want us to reframe how we think about mentorship at MUST, specifically at MUST, and that's why I'm here. At the heels of Professor Jessica, who just presented, an overview, of mentorship generally. And my goal today is really to foster a dialogue where we can collectively explore how to navigate our paths here at MUST, but also, what makes us MUST, how we can put our foot forward, but also navigate the challenges of mentorship as it is at MUST. What are some of the successes that we have seen, but also I want us to be stimulated, or to, I'm going to be stimulating us at, in this presentation, so as for us to think about mentorship as an institution, as an individual, and as a team, to be able to be better at what we do. So I'm going to be, does this work? So generally as MUST, we are really committed to fostering an academic excellence as it is in our profile, also fostering professional development and holistic growth for us as staff, but also as students. But then often, we face a lot of challenges related to academic pressures, career guidance, research development, and definitely that eventually, culminates to poor personal growth and other, challenges that we face around in our institution as we run our day-to-day activities. So we proposed a structured formal mentoring program, which we presented through the departments to the faculty and to top management of this university to have a mentorship program formalized here at MUST that will address some of these very, very particular challenges at MUST. So I wanted to stimulate you today at the end of this session to think broadly about the localized challenges that we have, how we can navigate them, and how we can overcome them to be able to move strides forward. So next, I think, I'm not going to go through the definition of mentorship. I think Jessica did a good job at that, but briefly, it is really a developmental and trusting relationship that aims to guide the less experienced individuals within communities, within, specifically at MUST. We aim at, growing personally, academically, and professionally. And through this, we hope that we can be able to share knowledge across the divide or different levels, whether you're, mid-level, early career individual, investigator, or otherwise, to be able to share insights. But also, as we do that, to be able to share and, encourage one another and provide feedback across, the different levels that we are engaged in. But we also, we are aiming at achieving, helping our mentees that are put under our care to achieve their set goals. And I think throughout this workshop, we will learn about how to help our mentees, set goals, how to navigate, different challenges that they experience, and be able to achieve the set goals in the specific time period that you have agreed on. But overall, we hope to build confidence in ourselves, but also in our community, to be able to do and, do more research, mentor more, develop academically, professionally, but also personally. The current status at MUST is that there is no current mentorship program that we have running. They are just small, scattered, disintegrated, individualized, initiatives here and there, maybe under DRGT. There's a seed grant here and there, and then there's someone with a, a D43, then, recruiting for fellows and, training, and then maybe an R25 like MURIP and, MUSI and ADRET and, all that. But there's no specific structured program at MUST that aims at, combining and, consolidating all those efforts into, one unified front for us to be able to do a more, formalized mentorship program at MUST. So I have been able to list some of the challenges that came off head in my own way, but also through my experience in this should I call it mentorship journey? Yeah, mentorship journey. And one of them, I'm going to list them out, but I think as I engage you later on, I've given you quite, a number of assessment tools. You'll also be able to list down some of the challenges that you have been able to experience as an individual, as a mentee, as a mentor, or as a supervisor, so that we can together try to figure out solutions and way forward. So one of the biggest challenges at MUST culminate from structural issues. We all know that we do not have housing infrastructure. Some of us rent in makeshift places where we do some little researches that we're able to do. We rent, for example, while I was going to initiate the current grant that looks at, social support network, and its role on, maternal health and maternal care utilization, I failed to get space to host my grant. And the only space that was available was in Tasso building. And when we got space there, our participants refused to go to be interviewed from there. One, because the space is known as, HIV clinic in the Tasso building and other, areas. So I was forced to get off from there and go and rent out a totally different place at a very high cost, which affected my budget, but also had an implication on procurement and bureaucracies and trying to justify back and forth why I needed, separate space from, it's very difficult to get space at MUST to actually do, any kind of work. And I think as we have this discussion today, we also need to look at, how we can, consolidate our efforts and, share ideas on how we can overcome some of these. But some of them are like long-term and very political as well. But I think we can put in a voice in one way or another and see what happens. Then institutional support. I managed to talk to a few of my colleagues, and one of the biggest challenges at MUST is that we look at mentorship as a chore, as an activity, yet it does not have, for example, I think when Jessica was presenting today, one thing that came to my mind is that in some institutions, mentorship is rewarded, directly rewarded. For example, if you're the last author, or if you have mentored, a number of, mentees or whatever, it reflects in your promotion as, a motivation or something that you look up to. At MUST, I don't know why, is it a financial, I think you can as well mentor 20. Some people have, 20, 10, 5, and sometimes people just get tired and they just don't mentor for, over a specific time period because the motivation, first of all, and then the mentorship is not aligned well in the, into the, outputs of an individual as a motivation to, to do that. So that needs also formalization, but also evaluation and, encouragement for people to be able to do that. And then burnout, of course, that goes without saying. There's no protected time. We are in too many things. You're a clinician, you're a lecturer, you are a supervisor, you are a cleaner, you are a caretaker, you are a housewife, you are a mother, you are anything that pops up. You're a family leader, clan leader, you're a driver, you're a chauffeur, and it just gets messy along the way. And most of us get hauled up somewhere and you never return from there. So how do we navigate that as MUST and as colleagues at MUST? Of course, there are very few to no mentors for specific fields of interest at MUST. That I have experienced before, but I think we need to come up with an honest, we need to be honest with ourselves and know where your interests are, what you can mentor, what the limitations you are in, and then find help as a mentor. I think yesterday or I think tomorrow they'll be talking about mentoring a mentor. I think I saw it in the program. I think it's David who will be talking about mentoring a mentor. One time I had a mentor in one of my, mentorship journey, and I was doing a specific, design, and my mentor was very, very honest and told me to go find help in that specific, area because he was not conversant with it. And he was able to guide me and point me to, another individual who was able to help me. I think in most of the times we want to portray these pictures, they know it all, and then, at the end of the day, we don't end up helping our mentees to succeed and achieve the set goals. And of course, it goes without, saying about funding. We have no funding specifically allocated for research, and as we navigate this funding, getting funding here, funding there, and the government specifically, I think, does not prioritize, research. Recently, I think there is an STI program that is doing that, but I don't know for how long and for how much. I think most of the grants are like seed grants. So some of those challenges and financial imbalances, definitely some ministries are more funded than others. Ministry of Education, for example, I don't know whether they now have a set-aside budget for research and the like. And so, above all these struggles, at MUST, they culminate into stagnation. You remain in the same place, you're frustrated, you're burnt out, and then eventually you meet, somebody starting to count their fingers. They don't know what to do. They're stuck. The university demands, progression. They demand, a certain, they have a certain yardstick to promote you to the next level. You're frustrated. You don't have the funding. You don't have the mentorship. You don't know what to do. And so some of these challenges that we have, which we can talk about in a minute. There are so many benefits to mentorship. I think Jessica already alluded to them. I can't repeat them and overemphasize them. Of course, at MUST, generally, if we improve our mentorship and we build a stronger and robust mentorship program, we hope that we will improve the retention of the students and staff, because you will be motivated, you will be fired up, your career progression will be on course, you will be energized, you have self-confidence, you have, leadership, aspirations and, goals that are, met. And above all, we will build a holistic, mentorship culture that is sustainably, ours, that fulfills our dreams, but also is appropriate to our local needs here at MUST, but not borrowing a leaf. But it's, so to speak, we do not want to invent a new wheel. There are many, many methods that have worked elsewhere that we can look at and consolidate and borrow, adapt and adopt to our own mentorship program. So we are targeting all levels of students for undergraduate and postgraduate, of course, and staff, both junior and senior, plus alumni. And we are here because we want to engage you as heads of departments, as faculty, to be able to drum up support, to engage and be a part of this initiative for us at MUST to be able to build, but also to, to grow this mentorship program. I think I'm just going to be on the last one because I want to engage. I don't know whether they have given you the tools. Is there anybody without one? So I want to make a call for us in this room. It is important. I am very sure that each one of us has a seed within ourselves that has been planted either years ago or yesterday or the other day or whichever day that needs to be watered. Yet, other people look up to you also to be mentored or to share the skill that you have got to be able to, to help them move from one step to another. So we need to water that seed, but how do we do that? I want to pick your minds today in the assessment tools which I have shared today for you to be able to share with us what you think should be done or ought to be done at must in our smallness as we start, as we project, as we grow on what best we can do to make this happen. And of course, as Jessica was presenting, what my mind was telling me, it takes a village to mentor an individual. I'm sure you were not mentored by only David. It was a big village that came up. And you were very, very lucky and blessed that he was there at the time to pick you up. I had the same journey because the day I met Mark Saidna was the beginning of my career. I've never looked back. So you mentored Mark, and Mark mentored me. And I'm busy mentoring others. I hope I'm doing a good job. But in our culture, they say you can only pick a lift when you're somewhere close to the roadside. You know, when the vehicle is passing, it will not find you in the outskirts. You ought to have moved closer to the road for the lift to pick you up. So as we navigate this mentorship journey, we will do our best. I think we need to call on ourselves and, drum up support and be encouraged to do the best that we can, so that when the chance comes, or when the chance comes, you're able to take off and take off for good. And I think I want to thank everybody who was able to come today. I'm going to have to sit down, and then we have an active engagement on what we can do as must, with a few pointers that I've mentioned. I've not been able to exhaust everything because I don't want to be the speaker of the day, but I just wanted to stimulate us to think about, what we can do as must at the faculty level, at the university level, to break these barriers and, engage everybody to come on board. Thank you. So you've been given lists. Can you quickly fill them up so that we can have them here? So I'm going to call the DRGT director to have to sit right here. I'm going to invite Dr. Mark Saidna. Please do come up here for this. Yeah. Today I have the privilege to call you up. Sorry. We started this, so we need to end it together. Thank you so much. So we are going to have a discussion on, how we can move forward as must. You want to say something, or we can sit down and then have an engagement? Yeah. So we are going to pick from you a few questions. Professor Batwara, you're supposed to be here. Yeah. Can you have a seat? And then Dr. Kanyesije, can I have you here as well? Because you're also a director somewhere, so that they can shoot you questions on how you can navigate this thing and how we can improve mentorship at must. We don't want to take another 20 years. When Professor Bansberg comes back after 20 years, we don't want to be in the same spot. We want to have moved from there and have better results to present. So I'm going to go around picking a few questions for us to address, but also suggestions which we can take up. Where do I start? from my roommate.
I was still busy reading.
You are still, okay. Where do I start? Who is, okay.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm Deus Tusubira. I'm from Biochemistry Department. And the presenter really covered a lot of things which I feel are pertinent to this mentorship within our context. But I was thinking at the back of my mind on one very important thing. That is the buy-in by top administration. How top administration can take it up and own it. So I don't know whether it is a question or something to think about. What are we doing to make sure that top administration takes it over this mentorship program and own it? Maybe that's when they will give us the reward system will change, the policy, etc. It's kind of.
So I'm going to point the question at Dr. Mark. How is it done at Harvard? You want to pick ideas. Is it your personal money?
Yeah, it's a great question, Des. Thank you. So I'd say that there's a number of elements, and Jessica touched on a couple of these as well. It's mentorship, as far as I know, is very rarely financially rewarded. Jessica did mention that in the United States there are some mentoring grants, so a portion of your salary can be supported by those. But they're relatively rare, and frankly, I think they're kind of a dying breed, unfortunately. Most mentorship is volunteership, but I think that's not really an accurate way of describing it. And she mentioned this as well, which is at Harvard, they have various tracks of promotion, just like here. So there's an assistant professor, an associate professor, and a full professor. Assistant professor is somewhat similar to a lecturer here a bit, and then associate is kind of that mid-career track. At Harvard, you will not get promoted to associate professor without at least 5, maybe 10 last author publications. It's a requirement. That is something that is expected of you to show that you're no longer just leading your own science, but that you're leading a team of scientists, and you've become the leader of the team, and not just the person maybe doing the day-to-day work. And so I think that it is rewarded through promotion. Every year we have to meet with our division chief, and every year my division chief will ask me, who are you mentoring, how many people are they doing, how are they doing, are they also being promoted, are they being successful? I am expected as a faculty member at Harvard to be mentoring many people. There's even requirements that you spend a number of hours per year on direct educational activities of mentees. So it's not a financial requirement, but there's an expectation, and progress through academia does require it. I would call those sticks in some ways, right? Those are things that you're going to hit someone. You got to do this. Why aren't you mentoring more, etc. But I'll tell you, the picture that Jessica shows, I think, really talks about the carrot. And the carrot for me was David. The carrot was someone. David didn't sit me down and tell me how he mentors. He just set a standard and said, I'm going to show up, and we're going to meet, and you're going to come prepared. I remember I had to ride my bike. This is maybe not the best story, but like through the freezing rain to meet him at 6 in the morning at his favorite coffee shop. But he would always be there at 6 in the morning, and he would always review my papers, and he would always set a standard. And then when Esther or others walked into my office, I did the exact same thing. I didn't think twice about it because I thought that was the standard. And so the carrot is this idea that you build a philosophy of mentorship, that we're all expected to mentor, but that comes from having been mentored ourselves. And so I do think it's important to have the sticks, or to have the things that say you're expected to mentor, you won't be promoted unless you mentor. But I also think we need to give MUST time. MUST is a young university to build a culture of mentorship so that the Esthers and the others who are becoming these leaders can teach people to mentor, and then they can teach others. And it is like a tree growing. You start with the trunk and the branches grow and then the leaves grow and then the seeds fall and then you have the new generation. And so I think we should set the standards, make the expectations, but also realize that patience and time are needed. This won't happen overnight to change the philosophy and the culture.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for reflecting on that story. No, it means the world to me for you to say that. Thank you, in all sincerity. And it makes me remember I started a tradition at MGH, mentoring early in the morning, because all my mentees were young physicians starting their careers, and they had to be in the hospital by 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. So it wasn't 6 a.m., it was 5:30, because that's when Starbucks opened. And it happened with Jessica, it happened with Lynn Matthews, it happened with Alex, it happened with you. But I kept that early morning meeting going, and then I learned there's one more thing. And he talked about how do you make this a priority of leadership. Every morning from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., and those of you who see me on Instagram know, is reserved for coffee with a student. And I've been a dean at 3 institutions and a provost at 1. And I'm in the cafeteria, I'm in the common area, the public space of the university, chatting with a student every day. And all the other faculty are walking in, they're seeing the same thing, and I hope it becomes an expectation, because there isn't a faculty that is going to tell me that they don't have time to spend with students. Because if I have time, then they have time. And I think it's up to your leadership to set the expectation by example. So Esther, I want to see you in the canteen with your students. We need to.
Okay, thank you. I'll be specific to the question raised by Dr. Tusubira. Management. I'm not the spokesperson of management, but we have had a conversation regarding this issue, and I can assure you that management is ready to support the program, and we wanted it to start as early as last week. I remember Esther came to management to present this, and everybody approved. So there's no worry. Management has support to this program. Thank you.
I'll make a brief comment. I saw a hand over that direction. So, Mark, I really appreciate what you're saying about the last authorship being an acknowledgement of mentorship, but I've also seen that last author position be a sign of abuse, right? And I'm not saying anybody in here would do this, but I know some people at Harvard who've done it. So if you are using your postdocs to get your experiments done, they may get first author, but that would also give you that last author position, and that doesn't necessarily mean you are mentoring, right? So I think that that's part of it, is to have that in the promotion, but the culture, like David was saying, is so critical. And I think the first comment, I forget who made it, about like at the institutional leadership, that culture of mentorship, it's how it's done, not just what is done. And that's really intangible. And what we were trying to start to get at with this paper is to think about how can we make that something that is in some ways tangible, measurable, trackable, so that in addition to setting things like promotion criteria, we can get at the devil in the details, I guess, because echo? Okay. To make sure that we really are focusing on career growth and taking that altruistic nature that is inherent in mentorship, but making it something that doesn't only depend on altruism, because at the end of the day, we all have to get our own work done and to be the chauffeur and the cook and all the other things that many of us have to do during the day. So just something to think about. And the last thing I'll mention, I love early morning people. As the mother of 3, that does not always work, and just to acknowledge that many of us do have other responsibilities, but lunchtime works well too, just to put that out there.
Jessica brought up a really important point, which I think doesn't get enough attention, and that's transitioning off of senior authorship. Because one of the most difficult times for a mentor is to let your mentees fly on their own. And because they're doing work related to your work, you're all passionate about it, you really have to have a plan for let them fly on their own to develop their own independence and start publishing their senior author. Mentee relationships go sour, especially for Jessica and Marks and Lynn Matthews outside. It's time of career where they're senior, and they have a whole bunch of young mentees who've done well. That plan has to be explicit, and that's not talked about. My mentor, Andrew Moss, and I, we spent our over a year in couples counselor talking about negotiating my independence from him. We had tears, we had laughs. We said, "You remind me of my father, you can't leave me, you need to grow up, young boy." It was really, really intense. And I think that's not spoken about enough and needs to be explicitly acknowledged and needs to be planned for and needs to be part of the mentoring plan.
Thank you. I'll come to you next.
Thank you. My name is Felix Oyania. I'm Department of Surgery. I have 3 questions, probably, if that's okay. First, I would like to understand, I think the space we're in, we tend to confuse supervision to mentorship. The very first time I was introduced to my mentor, when I was a resident, he introduced me like, he can help you with supervising your research project from my residency. And then in the end, it grew to be a mentorship. So how do you differentiate between supervision and mentorship in this space where we work?
Hello? Yeah. Oh, answer.
Thank you. The second question is, when do you feel like, okay, I'm not gaining much from this mentorship relationship? In the same vein, sometimes, like you clearly stated, sometimes the mentor feels like, I think you are now independent enough, yet you feel you need to be continued mentored too. So how can you draw that line? And also, must you have mentors in the same career? Like if I'm a surgeon, should I have a mentor in the same specialty, or it's better to have in other areas? Thank you.
Thank you. I think I will give this one to... Who wants to answer? I think you talked about it.
Yeah, if we can, for the first question, table that till tomorrow. Tom's going to be talking exactly about supervision, roles of mentorship within and outside of our departments. It's an excellent point. If I can just hold on to it till tomorrow. Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. To the administration of maths, David talked about something to do with facilities. It appears we need some bit of facilities for interaction because there are different ways of mentorship. Even you can appear and have lunch with your mentor. Now, what are you people doing in order to encourage the coming up of the facilities so that we can nurture each other? Things like cafeteria, a dining hall, we don't have them, but this could be critical for mentorship. Then secondly, we talked about challenges regarding mentorship, but I want to hear with experience,
if you people could share about how we can overcome some of these challenges. You can see, like, winning a child can be very hard. The same way winning a mentor is not very easy. Thank you. We need your share experience.
Can I ask Professor Twara to take in on the space?
Thank you very much, Dr. Menu. I think when a child is learning to walk, doesn't start with running. I told you that we had so many times we have had conversations regarding this issue of mentorship in top management, and we have the goodwill. And right now, we are looking for where to house the mentorship project or unit. But when we get that, all of what you have asked will be sorted. Don't worry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doreen. I have two questions. The first one is, who chooses who, the mentor and the mentee? And is there a better way to do it? Should the mentor choose their mentee, or should their mentee identify their mentor? My second question is, what is your experience with culture differences as a barrier to mentorship?
Thank you so much. I'm Jenina Tebembele. Actually, mine is what Doctor said, but the second is, when can you stop mentoring? You know that this one is mature enough, maybe I'm leaving. And how should the mentorship end? Thank you.
Okay. Someone wants to answer Doreen. I think Dr. Mark, can you go?
Sure.
Yeah.
You guys are asking extremely good questions. I'll just say that. And I'll say for some of them, I think it's difficult to answer in a short Q&A session. And I believe that many of these exact questions are going to be topics of tomorrow. In fact, mentoring across cultural differences is one of the themes of tomorrow. So I think we'll spend quite a bit of time talking about that tomorrow, as well as communication styles and other things I think will be very pertinent here. Who chooses who, I think, is an excellent question. I do think I've seen that work both ways, and I've seen it work both ways successfully. And I think more important necessarily than who makes the first ask is how the two people come together and decide that they are going to work together, and how you explore when you're learning people if it is the right fit. And that's actually a specific portion of a discussion we'll have tomorrow, but I think it's really critical to do what I like to call a fitness test, but to understand how expectations are aligned, how cultural differences are aligned, how our communication style is aligned. And I think through those initial discussions, and sometimes through things like IDPs or development plans, you can find ways to work with people that maybe you wouldn't originally with, but actually you find, oh, you're very helpful because you're actually providing a service or a support that's different than my supervisor's providing, because maybe you have expertise in this way, but not that way. And so I think less important than who initiates the conversation is these initial conversations you have with that person, whether it's the supervisor or the mentee, to figure out if it is a good fit. And we will talk specifically about that tomorrow. There was a couple questions, I think, about when to stop mentoring. I still call David and ask for help, and I still call Jessica and ask for help, two of my mentors. So what I'll say is that I do think oftentimes mentorship in the relationships you build through mentoring and being a mentee they are in some ways lifelong. The needs definitely change, and the frequency of the meetings will change, and the nature of the questions will change. I no longer ask David usually about research questions, but if I have a major life event coming up, I'll ask David, is it, so I think I see mentoring relationships the same way I see many of my, frankly, familial relationships. They tend to be lifelong. And I do tell my mentees always that no matter what job I have or where I'm going, you can always reach out to me. And I think that trust building and that long-term relationship building really helps knowing that the nature and the specifics of the interactions and the relationship will definitely change over time.
Here you are.
Let me just emphasize a point Mark made that the relationship doesn't have to end. It has to evolve. It doesn't have to end. And when I met Mark, I literally had to teach him how to write a sentence in a paragraph. He's a pretty good writer now, so we don't have to talk about we don't have to talk about sentence structure anymore. And we don't have to talk about research design and papers and planning papers and grants and all that. But a lot of people still call me because when they're applying for a job, like, who's ever been through a job negotiation for a department chair? And how do you negotiate? What do you ask for? How many times do you go back and forth? Those are the questions involved. We had both Ingrid Katz and Lynn Matthews, two former mentees, just got jobs at Yale. They called up and said, hey, how do I negotiate for a new job? We talked that through. Another person I know is negotiating for a job as dean. And said, no, how do I do that? So I think, yes, hopefully the relationship doesn't end, but evolves as the needs and the careers evolve and change.
Thank you so much. I will take one more question. One.
Thank you so much. The mentee-mentorship relationship is a long-term, like any other relationship, conflicts are likely to arise. So how best one should address conflicts that arise without losing the relationship? And maybe Dr. Esther, in the mentorship program that you are proposing, how best or how are you integrating the leadership mentorship in this program? For example, must, like, as an institution, must have future leaders. How are you integrating this into the program? Thank you very much.
Can you hold that until tomorrow? Can you log in? Because we don't want to preempt what is, coming up tomorrow. That will still be addressed tomorrow. And please hold on, hold up a little bit. I will take one more question and then we'll wrap this up.
Thank you. Name is Edward. And mine is just a comment or a question as well. I have interacted with the questionnaire and I wish one of the questions was, are you willing to mentor? And what area of mentorship are you interested in? Because just like previous presenter presented, that not all of us will have a chance to walk into offices or meet people who live across the street. But if I could go to the MAS website, for example, and click in, clinical pharmacy, for example, and a list of mentors drop down, maybe that could be an easier way of giving access to these mentors. So maybe on the documentary field, we should add a section on, are you willing to mentor and what you would want to mentor in?
Yeah, and I think by the end of this session, you will know about that, because we are going to learn about the village, which we are incorporating within the mentorship program to help us for people to sign up, to be paired with mentors, mentees, for mentors to sign up, for mentees to sign up, and all that. So if you give us a little more time, you will learn about how we're going to bridge that gap. Thank you.
Short one, sorry. Now, in the discussion, something came up about the reward system. For example, being a corresponding author. I think Mark brought that up. And then there was a comment, I think, from Jessica on such being probable abuse, isn't it? Hope I got you. Now, I'm looking at this in a broader way, because the relationship in general could probably be somehow abused because of the power relationship. If you are mentoring someone young and then you are above. So probably it would be good to just mention a small thing about how we can, it's about conflict, but this time we're abusing your position as maybe being a mentor. Just small comment. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Do you want to comment, or you'll do that in your next presentation? Okay.
Yes, I think that's a very short question that's going to take a lot of conversation, I think. But as you're filling out your needs assessments and we're thinking about where to go next, what are the tangible next steps that are of highest priority to you, so that MUST as an institution can think about what are the policies, what are the programs, like what Esther is leading, what are the changes that are going to make some of these issues possible, to improve, to integrate, to incorporate into what you do. Again, to move from mentorship being a luxury to being part and parcel of how you operate. David mentioned some culture change that can happen at the leadership level. Is that what you're looking for? Is it the protected time? Is it a combination of all of these factors? Is it addressing the issue of potential hierarchy, power abuses? Like, what is it in your department, in your program, that really is going to help get you to where you'd like to be in terms of mentorship? So please fill out those questionnaires. They're really, really helpful, and we can all work together to try and elevate mentorship to benefit us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So our panelists over there who were hijacked this evening could say one or two things to wrap up this.
Thank you. So I'm a mentor, but also who needs a lot of mentoring.
Mentoring.
Yes, a lot of mentorship. So I will my submission will be in between there, being mentored and mentoring people. And one, I will share with you a scenario. Starting on my PhD work, I write a concept, and my mentor is there, but we have nowhere to print. I go to this dean's office, and they said, no, you can't print from here. And we are there stuck. So the question of, do we have facilities? And is MUST ready to support? One of my seniors is here. He can tell you that for many years, I think he has nowhere to sit, and I come close to him, and he mentors me. So that is the infrastructure that we have that is, in short, a problem. And then, secondly, we need to think about how intentional we are in supporting the juniors, these people that we are mentoring. The first time I was involved in writing a grant, I was there struggling. But I saw one of the seniors came with someone they were supporting as their PhD student. And I was looking at it saying, I wish I had a chance like this one when I was doing my PhD. So I think we need to be intentional. So you find you are up there, or people think that you know, but because somewhere there was a gap in the mentorship, you can't offer what you don't have. And that is the culture maybe Sydney was talking about. That now as MUST staff, we need to develop that culture of saying, if I'm doing this, who can I call on board? And we do it together, and I think they are aligning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kanyisiji. Professor Watwala.
Oh, thank you very much. I was once a mentee in Makerere University School of Public Health, and now I'm here. I'm also learning how to mentor my mentees. Although I'm a mentor now, but learning has no end. And as I said, mentorship program is going to have a soft landing in this university. We have had several conversations, and as management, we are ready to take it up. Our Vice Chancellor was leading the same program in Makerere where she was before, and she's excited that we are bringing mentoring program in this university. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Well, just to say, as someone who's been working Thank you. Working here for about 15 years, I have to say, hearing you say that, hearing that there are resources that are going into this, having a room full of people that are here because they want to learn how to mentor is remarkable in its own right, I have to say. I don't think this meeting would have happened a few years ago. And to see so many people here wanting to learn this because they realize how important it is for the future of MUST and the young people at MUST, I think it's really exciting and really reassuring. And then I'm going to just quickly address, there was a question online, is that right, about e-mentoring?
Yeah, there is a question online.
So one of the online attendants very appropriately asked a question about e-mentoring. So again, something we'll touch on tomorrow, but I do think one thing that maybe COVID did teach us more than we would have liked is how to work across distances. Because for a while we were forced to work across distances, and that was the only way to work. And I'd say that I think we learned a lot from that. I think we learned a lot about the benefits of distance mentoring, and that because of technology now, we can get on a video conference call, see someone's face, and have an interactive conversation with someone essentially any time. And so I think there's a lot of benefits to that. I think many of us probably worked in a distance way, and there are even people I mentor in Boston who I am more often on Zoom with than I am in person, just because that has become the culture. There are also pitfalls. There is really no alternative to being in a room with someone, I think, for many reasons. I think we build strong, lasting relationships by spending time sharing meals with people, talking to them about their lives, not just getting on a 45-minute call and talking work, 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 work. Having those personal moments in person are important. And so while I think distance and e-learning and these things are very possible and can be part of the package of the mentorship and mentoring relationships we built, I don't think they should stand on their own if they don't have to. And so I think figuring out how to balance those two things is really important.
Yeah, that was a question.
Say again?
That was.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so you're done?
All set. Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. I didn't know there was another question. All set. Thank you.
Okay, I think we were wrapping this up. We want to go? Just one more, but I think let's wrap this up. Just forward in your questions and fill up this form, and then we'll take it off from there. But one last acknowledgement I would do, one contribution I would do. This year we were able to write up a proposal for the mentoring program of MUST, and as Professor just mentioned, we presented it all the way to top management and was approved. So we hope to have mentoring clinics and, coffee, cafeteria and a wellness center in the new proposed blocks that will at least facilitate, our activities around MUST. So I think I'll wrap this up. Professor Patwala, we will put you on task to follow up with, the things that we have discussed today as a representative of management today, alongside Dr. Kanye Sije. I think that will be fair to say. Thank you so much for listening. I think the MC disappeared. Who is Annette? Annette. Oh, the chair is back.
A round of applause to everyone that has contributed to this session. It has been very insightful. And yes, it's really nice. I think Adeline came in when we had reached somewhere far. I wanted to see her experience in the shift from Ghana to the US in terms of mentorship. There's a cultural aspect from the Ghana version, and there is a different version in the US. Just a minute or two, and then we will get to the village, right? Hey, the break. Oh, we already had a break. Yeah. Do you mind?
Thank you, Fred, and good afternoon, everybody. That's a really interesting question, and a somewhat difficult one for me to answer, because I would say that I'd say my academic growing up really was all in the United States, because I started as an undergraduate there, and so haven't really been in the university system within Ghana, although I have done some research there now, and so am working with other colleagues there. I think a lot of the challenges that are faced by MUST, I see similar challenges amongst the institutions that I'm affiliated with in Ghana. I think the primary one that I've been affiliated with is University of Ghana, Legon, which is I think a little bit older than MUST, and so maybe the mentorship culture is maybe a little bit further along, but many of the challenges that I saw Esther raise in terms of having adequate infrastructure, having adequate number of mentors to the mentee ratio still exist and are still present, and are still challenges. And I think those are still challenges actually in the United States as well, depending on where you are. We certainly are coming from Harvard, but even within Harvard, I would say, depending on which department you are, those challenges exist. And so I, for example, am in the Department of OBGYN, where research is not necessarily a big feature of the department. And so I've sought my mentorship outside of that department from Jessica, who is in the Department of Medicine, where they have a much bigger footprint. So I'd say a lot of these challenges are not unique to this setting, not unique to Mbarara, to Uganda, to the continent, and certainly it's their global challenges.
Right, thank you. I want to ask a question. Ask your neighbor, are you ready to take on the mantle of mentorship? Because that's also another aspect. Ask your neighbor, because yes, because one of the points that Adeline has talked about is the limited number of mentors. So the mentees may be available, but the people to mentor are not available. So what was the response from your neighbor? The team here, what was the response from your neighbor? Yeah, so we can have a stretch for about 10 minutes. So exactly 4, we will have the village, which will conclude by 5. And we will be out of this place. So 10 minutes stretch a bit, short call, long call, and then some. Yeah, the village is a mentorship platform which has taken us some time to reach it where it is. It supports some of the issues that my colleague Edward mentioned, that he would feel he would want to see. For example, if I go to the website, can I find different mentors, and then I click here and say, okay, I'm interested in clinical pharmacy. Boom, there is so and so. Can we get in touch? Okay, what is our first meeting? Okay, what do I need? So the village can support us in all that, and you don't need to miss. Be sure we are going to really enjoy interacting with some of the aspects of the village. So it takes you from the initial stages of submitting in your areas of interest. Are you interested in grants? Are you interested in maybe education career? Are you interested in professional career? Mention it. And then there are these mentors who have also submitted in their information. They are available to do this. They are in this area of expertise. So it becomes quite easy to actually link up, and then you take on the journey with the mentor. Yeah, so yes, 10 minutes stretch, talk to someone. I need to see people from here, talk to the people the other side, and people the last end where Peter is, shift and talk to the people this side, so that you get to know each other and we have the remaining program also handled. Okay? right, all right, all right, all right, all right. We are back. We are back. We are back. It takes a village to raise a child. And here we are. We want to hear from the village. So I want to call Robert, and the support team, I hope, will be in the background doing background work. So, okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fred. Hi, everyone. I am Robert, the tech lead for the village, and I'm going to be taking you through what the village is all about and how we've built the mentorship journey. I feel like generally when we ask people to start signing up now, then everyone is like on their phones or computers and they're not listening to the, so maybe like midway into the slides we can then start the sign-ups if that's fine. Yeah, great. So what's the village? The village is all about AI, which is like the catchphrase everywhere now you go is AI, AI, AI. It's all about how we can leverage on the power of that powerful tool to improve collaborations and like mentorship, like people working together, people interacting and so on and so forth. It's an initiative that was co-founded by Professor Jessica, which who everyone here knows, and Professor Yap, and I've been supporting them as the tech lead. I think there was like a pointer or something. Okay, it's fine. You can move to the next slide. So the village is an AI-powered platform for global mentorship and collaboration. I removed the word health from here because we're right now focusing a lot on health, but it can actually work in any other domain. And the whole philosophy behind the village is the Ubuntu philosophy, which says, I am because you are, the whole serendipity thing that Jessica clearly explained earlier today. We can move to the next slide, please. So what are the challenges that this digital platform is seeking to address? The first one is that in the global community, there's limited access, especially to individuals in the limited resource settings, to mentorship, to professional networks, and what have you. And I think the essence of this meeting today justifies this kind of a need. Then there's also the geographic barriers, distance being one of them, but even more so institutional barriers, like everything is around institutions, but there is a lot more that we can do. Like Jessica said, she was living across the road from David, and it so happened that they started their journey together. We create this global village, a digital platform, so that this serendipity can be brought out from their street to the global space. That's what we're hoping for. Then there's knowledge inequity. Most of the knowledge, and I mean the knowledge groups and the sharing, the sharing systems, they're centralized in high-income countries. In the low-income countries, there's almost nothing. And then there's very shallow networking. This is not condescending or demeaning to platforms that exist like LinkedIn and all the other ones, but if you will all agree with me that they are more for content consumption rather than actually building meaningful relationships. So what we want to do is a shift from where you go to the web or to such platforms to build relationships rather than consume, zillions and zillions of content. We can move to the next slide. Then when it comes to specifically mentorship, what are the challenges? These challenges, I picked them from what Jessica presented today. The first one is that mentorship is still a luxury. And the way we think that the village is going to come in is this global digital space sort of democratizes access to mentorship because it provides a platform that's freely available. Anyone can join on an individual level, institutional level, thematic groups, and what have you, as we would see later on. So this mentorship no longer becomes like segmented or available to only select groups. This platform democratizes it. It makes it really available to anyone, anywhere. Second is the overload and the burnout. Yeah. This is, as I think the previous speaker said, a very difficult thing to handle. But we believe that by providing structure to the mentorship, by providing a way or a venue or a tool what you can use to capture everything you're doing as a mentor or your relationship with your mentor and mentee, it kind of motivates you because you can easily see how far you've gone, you can easily measure your impact, and so on and so forth. So it makes it lightens the load. There's still a lot more that we can do, but at least as of now, we believe that providing structure helps. And then one other aspect, which is purely mechanical, is workload management. If we're already using a digital tool, there are ways we can be able to say, this person, when he was coming up as a mentor, he said, I can dedicate weekly availability or bi-weekly availability for mentorship, and in each of those periods I have an hour. So how do you manage that in terms of the number of mentees they have, the intensity of the work they are doing with the mentees, the types of goals or objectives they want to meet with the mentees. So you're able to calculate some sort of workload, and you can determine the capacity of the mentor to receive or to get more mentees. Then you have also the superficial engagement. As I said earlier, most other platforms are more on content consumption. The village is actually about deep, meaningful interactions that lead, that we wish or we hope will lead to very palpable outputs. Then this is a very tricky one. Weak culture, I think the previous orators completely explained it very well. It's a very difficult thing to overcome. And we think that, once again, the culture comes because people don't necessarily see the impact of what they're doing. So if you provided them with insights about like how impactful what they're doing is, how they're progressing with their mentors, how they are performing and all that, then it helps to motivate them. It helps to make them want to reproduce or want to replicate whatever they're doing with their mentees. And it somehow will help in instilling that mentorship culture and create that sort of recognition. And one very, very important point also is that this platform provides enough or provides data that can be used at institutional level for decision making. We've talked a lot here about using mentorship, the number of people you've mentored, as a metric, for career growth, advancement, and all that. With a platform like this, you have very actionable data that you can use if you were to go through such a route. So those are like sort of the challenges that led Jessica and Yap to say, let's work on this kind of a platform. But it goes beyond mentorship. The village is, yes, mentorship and collaboration. It's also about targeted networking, research, creating scientific community, and steering communication or discussions around different topics, and then finding opportunities. So the village is a whole lot of different features. We can go to the next. So how does it work? The village is sort of a two-tier platform. At the top tier, you have the global village, which is the platform-wide community. It's open to all users. So anyone that comes to the platform, you sign up, you become a villager, as we call them. We're all villagers. And within this global platform, we have an overarching mentorship program. So anyone that joins, you don't need to belong to MUST, you just join the village. You can join the mentorship program, and then you meet mentors, you get on mentorship journeys and so on and so forth. We also have the possibility of organizing events, workshops, and what have you. So that's like the global village. Then within this global village, and that's the second tier, you have what we call community spaces or sub-villages, like the mosque community, which we are hoping to create this week. So these are exact replicas of the global village, but on a more confined or more restricted scale. Like mosque community would contain all people from mosque, students, lecturers, mentors, mentees in that community. And they can do exactly the same thing that we do in the global village, so they can run programs, could be mentorship programs or whatever, cohorts, so they can run as many as they want. They can run events, they can engage in discussions and run workshops and whatever. So everything we were able to do in the global village, you can replicate it in the sub-villages. Next slide, please. So since we are looking at creating a space for MUST and running the mentorship program for MUST within the space, I thought it wise to kind of have a slide that says what spaces are. So what are spaces? As we've said, it's just group of like-minded individuals. Could be institutions, could be whatever. Who can create them? Universities, institutions, NGOs, research groups, advocacy groups, or any other group of like-minded persons. Within such a space, you can run programs, events, discussions, and you can have a shared resource space. If you have a place like a library where you upload and share resources to your members. And again, as we're here because of mentorship will be part of programs that you can run within the village. As a space must, we're going to start a mentorship program, the global mentorship program for the MUST community. But tomorrow, maybe Esther would be, like she has a cohort of master students that she wants to do a specific mentorship program with specific objectives just for that cohort. She creates a new program for those ones. She invites them and she runs it. So it's really completely dependent on what the objectives of the space are, what they want to do, and how they want to proceed. So everything about the space is managed and controlled by the space admin. So if we create a space for MUST, we would have to give administrator rights to a few persons from the MUST community, and they are going to be the ones that manage everything. So the village can support, of course, if you have any questions around how to proceed, how to do use the different features, we're always there to support. But the actual content, how it flows and everything is created by your local administrators. So you can create and run programs, organize events, manage membership, they do mentorship pairing, they moderate content, the branding, customized branding for that sub-village and whatever. So they have a lot of things that they can do within the village. Now, let's say we have created this MUST community or MUST space within the village, and we've created the program, the mentorship program for the MUST community within that space. And how does it actually look like? So one thing I didn't say is that when we're creating, when Esther, for instance, will be creating the mentorship program for MUST within the MUST space, she would indicate a lot of information, but one critical information that she will need to indicate is how she wants to match mentors and mentees. So if we were to use AI to say this is a good mentor for this mentee, what criteria, what descriptors, what fields, what different data elements would she want us to use to determine if this is a good mentor or this is a good mentee? In the village, when you're signing up, we collect some of that information. But as a space admin, she can say the information is not enough. I want that people who join the MUST space and want to be mentors or mentees, they provide additional information so she can put it there. Maybe someone asked about culture. I'm trying to see how you can frame a question to ask someone's cultural leanings. but she can ask such a question. You can ask about language. You can ask about maybe things that are specific to MUST, like what department are you from? You know, what's your specialty in that department? What's your role in that department? Maybe those are things that she would want to use to be able to match mentors and mentees within that department. So once that happens, the village is going to do some match recommendations to say we recommend this mentees for this mentor and so on. And then Esther will come and she will do matchmaking, she would pairing, she would accept the matches. And once a mentor and mentee have been, once a mentee has been assigned to a mentor, they start their mentorship journey. I think it's important to see, I was happy that we seem to have the same understanding of a mentorship journey, because the mentorship journey is individual between the pair, and it's different for every pair. It's different for each mentor and their different mentees. It's not the same for, even if you have just 2 mentees, the journeys are completely different. So we try to capture that within the village. So we structure the mentorship, we give it some sort of structure, but we also leave it as flexible as possible so that it's tailored to the goals that the pair wants to achieve. We create some sort of like stages or phases of the mentorship journey, and at each stage the mentor and mentee can carry out a number of activities and organize meetings and do whatever they want to do. They can capture it within that structure. The mentorship journey can be 2 types within the village. So it's time bound, could be, for instance, maybe a cohort of master students that you want to do a mentorship program for them within 6 months or within a year. So you do that kind of a mentorship program. It's also it's very possible, or open. And this is more the mentorship we are going to be, I see MUST is interested in, and we're going to be talking about in the next few days. It's one that is more lifelong. So you start with your mentor and you guys create this relationship that goes forever. And each of these has a certain number of phases. We have like the intensive phase where the mentor is assumed to be engaging actively with the mentee, like helping the mentee meet their goals, could be finding a job, could be learning a new skill, advancing in their career, gaining confidence, public speaking, whatever. Like the mentor is actively engaging with the mentee to help them achieve that goal. And most often in the time-bound mentorship programs, it would only be this active phase, because the mentee has a specific objective to meet, and you help the mentee meet that objective. If we take the example of the cohort of master students, they meet it at the end of 6 months and then it ends there. But if we were in an open mentorship program, after the intensive phase, the relationship doesn't stop. The relationship is lifelong. They go into the maintenance phase. So the maintenance phase is the mentor and mentee, they are no longer, the mentor is no longer helping the mentee actively achieve specific objectives. But the mentor is still available for the mentee to ask questions, stay in touch, ask for advice and different things. So they're still in an active relationship, mentor-mentee relationship. Then after that phase, they get to a more collaborative phase. That's when you get to a place where you become no longer teacher, student, or mentor, mentee, but peers. So you can get into a more peer-to-peer relationship. Like you start collaborating on projects. You start writing grants together. You start working together. And you start, like, the village provides tools for all of this. So if you are in an intensive phase, there is a way like the village will support you in going through navigating that intensive phase. If you're in a maintenance phase, there's tools to help you navigate the phase. And when you get to the collaborative phase, there is also ways that we accompany you through that phase. Then one other thing that the village provides for the mentorship journey is active support and accountability. We believe that what I think it was Esther that said, or maybe Jessica, that the mentorship feeling or the excitement dies down. It dies down, it could be simply because you stay out of touch for too long. that you forget it, like you don't. So reminders can be very useful. Just reminding you kindly or gently that, hey, don't forget to reach out to your mentee. Don't forget to check in on your mentee. Don't forget to do this. So it can be very helpful as well. And you have progress monitoring, just telling you how far you've gone, what you've been able to do, and what is remaining for you to do. Then there's a journey visualization. You can see exactly how far along you've come. You can try to examine where you could do better, how you could learn from the way you've performed or the activities you've done, maybe to improve on your subsequent mentorship relationships. So we have all of this within the village. Then you have also the quick wins. Like it helps you to see, hey, you've achieved this. It's good, might not be very useful for everyone, but it's been proven to be very helpful in digital apps when people see celebrations for milestones. Then other tools that the village provides are collaboration tools, like a shared workspace for the mentor-mentee. You can see what the mentor is doing, and you can complete work on tasks together and all that. You have in-platform messaging. You have a calendar. You can see what you're supposed to be doing. Shared notes. Shared notes are actually very, very good. Resource management. You can create, like, you have the library for the space or for the institution, but you can also have a small library for just the two of you, where the mentor shares all sorts of resources. It can just be links, videos, papers, whatever for the mentee. And then we have an AI chatbot, which we call the Chief, that also supports you throughout your mentorship journey. Next slide, please. So the Chief, we're in a village, right? Most villages have chiefs. So the AI of the village, we baptized it the Chief. So how the Chief supports you, all of the things I've listed above, you can do it mechanically with your mentee. Like you don't need to, you won't need AI unless you want to. So you can structure your journey with your mentee, you can have your check-ins, you can organize your meetings, you can have your shared notes, your shared workspaces, in-app messaging, whatever, progress tracking for how you're advancing, and set your goals and all that. But the AI, the village chief, is always available to help if you ask. So it helps, first of all, in like the matching, as we said before, helping to match the mentor-mentee pairs, of course, based on the customized criteria that the space administrator would have indicated for that particular program. It helps with journey customization. So if you say you want to maybe learn, I'm an IT person, so I would say I want to learn a new programming skill, something like that, then the Chief can kind of generate a pathway to help you get to that objective. And it doesn't end there. It would indicate to the mentor how the mentor can help the mentee get to that objective, and it indicates to the mentee how best they should behave, for lack of a better word, so that they can make the most of this relationship and get to their objective as fast as possible. So the village chief is always there. It also provides contextual guidance and a chatbot. So if you organize a meeting and you clearly set your objectives and all that, it can help you with a meeting agenda, like you're suggesting what you should be discussing. If you want to talk about something with your mentor and you don't know how to start, it can suggest something for you, like this is, maybe you should introduce a topic like this or something. It can also, looking at the objectives you've set out with your mentor, suggest resources, maybe a paper you need to read, or some video you should watch, or some resource on the web that you can look to help with your journey. And then you can ask ad hoc questions. You can ask any question about your journey, of course. You cannot ask questions about just, it's not ChatGPT, it's really an AI model that's around mentor-mentee relationships, and that is focused on that particular journey. When you move to another journey, maybe you have another mentor, you go to that workspace, you can also ask questions about that particular journey as well. So it's really helping you navigate that particular journey. Then I keep saying this, that I think is very important. Progress support, you monitor momentum, celebrate milestones, suggest course corrections, mentor workload management. This is coming soon. We're still going to finalize this, but I think it's going to be one of the highlights of the village. Sorry if this is not very clear, but this was just to kind of schematically create the expectation of what this will mean for the mosque community if we're using the village for the mentorship journey. We would start by creating the mosque space and add an admin. I think we've already talked about that. Then we would create the mentorship program within that space with description, duration, pairing criteria, minimal structure. And by minimal structure, if must, and I had the question for Esther earlier, for later, sorry, I was going to ask you this. I like that must wants to do a structured mentorship, but what do you put in structure? Is it like you want your mentor-mentee to, I don't know, you tell them once you've been assigned the mentee, within 2 months we want you to define IDPs, like in the development plans. Then the next other months you do something. Maybe you want to work on a capstone project. Like, do you have some sort of recommended pathway that you want your mentor-mentees to? It's recommended, it's not like they must do it. You create that kind of structure. So you can, once you're creating the mentorship program, create this structure so that every mentor-mentee that gets matched within that program will have some minimal starting point from where to start. You can have some activities that they can already start doing together and so on. Because also this is, someone also mentioned that we need a mentorship program for mentors. Because it can be very difficult for some mentors to start up. But when you have at least some minimal structure, that helps them to know, like, these are some activities I can start doing with my mentee, and then the other ones would come up like organically. So that's the second step. Once we've created all of that, then we would invite the members of MUST, either as mentors or mentees, to join the space and to join the program. They accept the invitation, and then they provide the information that's required for matchmaking. So if the admin had said, I need, when you're signing up, to tell me what department you're in, what fields of expertise and all that, then once they accept the invitation, they would have to provide all of that information. Once they do it, then the village chief will use that information to suggest pairings. Then the mentorship admin, once again, comes, looks at the pairings, and picks the ones to, validate, or picks the ones to ignore. But the mentor, the space admin, does not have to use what the village chief suggests. They can also manually pair mentors and mentees. I didn't say this earlier, but we are building this. It should be available in the next 2 weeks for mentors to be able to pick their mentees and for mentees to be able to request specific mentors. For now, it is the space admin who would be, I presume, Esther, who will look at the people that have been added to the platform as mentors and mentees, and then just assign them. Yeah, I think that's enough. So once the pairs are created, then the mentor-mentee pairs start on their mentorship journey. So they use the tools within the village to structure their journey, their shared workspace, their shared notes and whatever. They set meetings and activities, reminders and all that. Then we have the insights. So they have insights at different levels. You have the insights for each of the individuals, for the mentor, for the mentee, but you have also insights for the program that are available to the space admin or the program or the mentorship program administrator. So in in essence, the flow, when we set up the mentorship program for MUST within the village, will look something like this. Next slide, please. I had these questions, but I think they've all been answered in the previous presentations. Because to set up the mentorship program adequately within the village, we would need to know what are the program objectives. I think we've already answered that. Who can be a mentor or a mentee? For the mentors, is it faculty members, senior students, maybe like PhD students? From that upwards, they can be mentors. Alumni can be mentors. The mentees, all levels or students from a particular level, I think it was all levels, so it's clear. The matching criteria, what's going to be needed. Then who pairs with who pairs the mentors and mentees? Right now we only have this, but as I said, we're working on mentors being able to pick from a pool or mentees being able to send requests, and that should be available in a few weeks. Then program structure, as I said, is there any minimal structure that as MUST you want to give to your mentorship journey, and how success will look like for MUST in the mentorship program? This would help us build additional indicators in your space dashboard. This program completion rate, mentor-mentee satisfaction, skills developed, like all of the things Jessica mentioned. Not everyone will need everything, so we need to discuss on a one-on-one with each space, or with each community that's running a mentorship program to know which ones are relevant to them and build those ones for them. Before I finish, I just want to say that this platform is being built 90% by ex-students of MUST. So we have a group of 5 developers. They're all here in Barara, and they're the ones that have been doing this. They're all students from the computer science or engineering departments of MUST. So this is really a very... And how did we get the students? They were all mentees of either Fred or William. So again, this is mentorship in action. This is like we're practicing what we preach, kind of. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. So if you don't mind, while we're asking the questions, you can go back to the first slide where there is the QR code. If you're up for it, you can go ahead and sign up to the village. And yeah. I think tomorrow, yeah.
So I take it from your presentation that this is your community, your intended community is around academic knowledge generation, which makes perfect sense. I can see how this would work. But it would also work, have value in terms of other fields as well. I was thinking entrepreneurs and business people. Like, I have a startup. I want a mentor to help me with my startup. The same type of platform could be valuable or helpful there as well, which is very different than, generating scientific knowledge. Have you thought about other use scenarios?
Maybe Jessica, you want to take that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great question, and it's something that we've thought a lot about. We're starting with global health and science academically because that's who we are. Yeah, but the platform, the core, like what Robert was describing, could work for anything. So once we get the core functionality going, we absolutely would want to expand it to anyone. There's no reason not to. But one of the things we've been learning over the years is, that we've been working on this for like 2 years now, is that the matching is the beginning. And I think what we are really excited about is this mentorship journey, so that the tools that you may be learning through the workshop tomorrow, or you may have heard in other contexts, will be embedded in the Village platform, so that you don't have to think, when should I fill out an IDP? It will pop up. If your mentee hasn't gotten back to you with that mutually decided deadline that you set for each other, it's that welcomed, kind of mutually agreed upon accountability. So it takes some of the pressure off of the relationship. So we're trying to do the hard, boring, irritating stuff for you, so that you can focus on the actual mentorship itself. And then at a programmatic level, and all of you are here today because you lead programs. We'll be talking tomorrow about what it's like to be a mentee in the Village, or just to be a participant in any capacity. But the reason we wanted to present this to you all specifically is because you can be one of those space administrators. You can set the tone for how this will work for your department. At the end of the year, you can say, we matched 20 people, they produced 26 papers, and 3 grants were written. And that will all be tracked automatically if you do it through the platform. You can record some of the metrics that we talked about earlier today, like how often are you meeting? You can use the same calendar, like a Google Calendar. We don't know exactly what you talk about, or how long you talk, or that sort of thing, but we at least know you met, and that gives you some degree of accountability to keep things moving. We often come to a relationship with a lot of enthusiasm, but life is busy. We may get distracted. The Village is going to help keep the mentees and the mentors on track, and as department heads, it will help you with your productivity. So when you go to the Vice Chancellor and say, this has been really effective, look at what we've done, but what more could we do if we do X? We can give you that information to make those arguments, and for us to grow together as a community in terms of making mentorship a metric, and then using that metric for the benefit of our own careers as mentors or researchers or teachers, and for our mentees. So it's really like a fabric that will help us operationalize all of these ideals and goals that we've been discussing today and will continue to discuss tomorrow. That's a long answer to your question. Oh, will it help Mark Seidner write? No, sorry. But the chief could recommend some stuff for you, Mark. Okay. Any other questions?
Hello?
Yes, please.
First, I want to congratulate the team that is setting up, congratulate for this level so far achieved, because it's really exciting. We are looking forward to really making use of the same. And in the same vein, because I'm congratulating you, I'm looking forward to how to access this service, not only through the QR code. Maybe is there another way? Are you going to maybe make it available maybe through the university website, or some other which is available to masses in the whole university community? And I'm also wondering whether, okay, I know you're going to scale it up. Are you thinking about undergraduates also maybe accessing it? Because I know we are dealing so much with postgraduates, but Fred, I think he's using the undergraduates, and they're doing really a good job. And I feel they will really need to look for mentors from that particular level and beyond. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. So yes, I think we need, if we are using the Village for the most mentorship, then we need to make it accessible. And the best approach is, the best way is to put it on the website, right? Make it accessible as maybe there are other avenues in MUST where you communicate to students. We pass it through all of those communication channels. And for the second question, anyone can join the Village. It's open to everyone. But now the space admin or the Village community, the MUST community within the Village will have to accept the ones that match, that actually fit into the objectives that they've set for that community. So but as the Village undergraduates, even 18 years plus, you can join. You come in, you join. You can get mentors. You get matched with with connections, other people that have similar expertise or experiences as you, or match with mentors that can help you to realize the needs that you indicate when you're signing up to the village. Because one thing that was the key at the beginning of the village was needs and offers, needs and resources. We didn't want to just connect people because they look alike. We wanted to connect people because one has a need that the other can cover, or the other can solve. So that component is like the backbone, the guiding, our guideline throughout everything we're building.
And just to set expectations, the sub-village or the community space for MUST has not been created yet, because we need the information from you all to do that so that it's customized for your purposes. And Esther's leading the charge with this program, and we've been in touch with her and with the Vice Chancellor on this ideal. So we will be building it as we go. So please do sign up and at least get familiar with the website. You can generate your profile manually. You can ask the web to do it for you. It sometimes makes a few mistakes here and there, so you can correct it. But please go ahead and create a profile so that as we pull this together, we'll have some data to start with, and then it can grow much more easily.
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you. Mine is again on accessibility, because I think it's internet-based. So, and there's some challenges of internet here and there. So it would be great if you work with the ICT team to see how maybe to host it on the MUST server as well, so that it's accessible to those who are within the local network without need of the internet. Then about the pairing, is it the chief who does the pairing or the admin? And if it's, because I noticed that you said the admin will pick from the mentor and mentee, and would that admin only have access to the mentors who are available in that space or on the global space? And then my third question is, can the village provide a metric for the mentors? Say, like a score, maybe it could be a star basis or something, so that if you're searching through, you can see Edward with maybe this ranking in mentorship based on how many people he has mentored, how many activities they've accomplished, so that you can see how well they're doing vis-a-vis another mentor. Thank you.
You want to take the first two, and I'll take the third.
We definitely will look into making it easily accessible to the members of the MUST community. We can discuss with the IT team and see like what's possible. The second question was on, what was it?
On who does the pairing? Is it the chief or?
It's both, kind of. So what the chief does, it provides recommendations. So the chief will recommend pairs that based on the goals they want to achieve and.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're having some technical difficulties. It's both. So the systems admin or the space admin can make matches if they want, or they could have like that rank profile or requests. The chat bot, like the chief, can also assist with that. So think of the chat bot as a tool. It doesn't have to do it, and certainly you wouldn't want to do that completely unsupervised, because who knows if that's actually what's going to work. But it's meant to make it easier. You know, it'll do some of the like pretty obvious pairing, and then the admin can refine it. It could be within the department. It could be at a higher level. It really depends on what you want. And then the last question is rating mentors, which is something we've thought a lot about. We want it to be a metric of mentorship quality, not necessarily popularity. And that's tricky, right? Because you don't want to necessarily just get the mentor who throws the best parties. You want the mentor who is going to get you where you want to go. And maybe it's the same person. I don't know. It could be. So David throws good parties too. But I think, seriously, what we hope to accomplish with all of those metrics that I mentioned before and that Robert went through, like, how often does somebody meet with their mentor on time when they said they would? Does the mentor show up? You know, simple things like that can be translated into a rating, I think, better than a bunch of thumbs up, you know, or things that are a little bit more spectacular and visually appealing. So yes, I think there will be like medals, that kind of ranking system based on the quality of the mentorship as best we're able to do. And that's something we'll have to learn over time, what really reflects the values of the mentees and the mentors, and specifically within the spaces, you know, that may be different from space to space.
Yeah, thank you. It looks a very wonderful program, good for mentoring. But then I wonder during the comparing stage whether the village chief can assign more than or multiple mentors. And in that case, how do you handle? Because it's not a human being doing it. If it assign more than one mentor.
Thank you very much for that question. So essentially, all through the platform, the village, nothing the village chief does is set on stone. So the village chief only recommends. He can recommend a mentee for a mentor, mentor for a mentee, but it is the human being that's managing that mentorship program that has to accept or not certain pairings. So yes, the village chief can recommend for the same mentor several mentees, or the same mentee several mentors. But it is at the discretion of the program admin to pick just one of those, you know, or you can also pick several mentors for the same mentee. It's possible you can have a mentee who has different things they want to do. Like we had here, I think it was Jessica and there was a situation we had here. It was Jessica and Mark that had the same two mentors. No, you had just one mentor. But there was one person that had two mentors, multiple mentors. So it's possible. So that's at the discretion of the person managing it. The chief only suggests based on the information they've provided. It looks at the similarities and how they match together and makes suggestions. And then, yeah.
And just to clarify, just because the chief recommends it doesn't mean it has to happen. Or even if the system or the village admin says something like, we're not going to inundate those really popular mentors with 30 mentees. Like that's not feasible or desirable. So this is why we're trying to build the space specifically for MUST and for the departments within MUST, which is why your input and feedback is so critical, so that when the chief makes recommendations or when the admin makes those pairings, they really fit with what people are trying to do, because we don't want to overwhelm and we don't want to miss opportunities. So all of this is done as a process. I think there's one more question over here.
Thank you very much. Previously, my question was that who has the overall power to make the final decision? And I was asking whether me as a mentee, I have the final decision to decide who should be my, me as a mentee, can I decide who my mentor is? And then on the other side, the mentor deciding who the mentee is. So that was around there.
Yeah, our default is for mentees to request mentors who can then accept or not, just based on some of the power dynamics, hierarchies, departmental requirements, etc. But that is something that we could customize. Do you want to add anything?
I think we are going to have several ways. You can have ones that are created by the admin, but then the mentor-mentee have to then agree, yeah, I want to get into this relationship that has been suggested by the admin. Or the mentor can go pick from the pool of mentees. that I don't think the mentee does not, I mean, if the mentor picks, you can refuse if you don't feel like, but it doesn't play well. But the mentee cannot pick a mentor. The mentee can only request for a mentor to, and then they submit like a full description of like a motivational letter kind of thing for why they want to get into a relationship with that mentor. As I said, this particular one where mentees request will be available in the platform in the next, maybe the next week or 2 weeks tops.
Okay, I think we're probably done. We're very close to the top of our time together. Fred, did you want to say some concluding remarks? As Fred makes his way to the front. Oh, and I see Angela is here too. Did you want to say anything? Anyway, thank you all so much for your attention. Thank you for your participation in the village. The village was born here in Mbarara. Yap and I first started talking about it when we were both here a couple of years ago. And as Robert said, the vast majority of our development is happening here in Mbarara. So it really is a product of Must in many ways. So thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for the participation as we grow and hopefully succeed in many returns in terms of mentorship and the impact we're seeking. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert and Jessica. That was great. Like she has said, the village is born in Uganda. And as it is a village, it is, of course, a collaboration amongst very many of us from Africa and outside Africa. And these are efforts that are not paid for. It's time that is not paid for, so it is just commitment that we have put in to come up with a platform that can support mentorship and career development. We are at the last part, and I don't know later on if Angela has something to say, but I want to say in 2 minutes what I can conclude from this session of today, that this is the turning point for us to turn potential into performance. And we can only turn this into performance through continuous dialogue, connection, and sustained guidance. I think those are 3 things that I've really picked out. Yeah, continuous dialogue, connection, and sustained guidance. At any one point, when mentorship continues until I want to say the death, until death happens. So when someone said that we don't want to be the same way we were when David comes back 20 years ago, I saw David looking and say, 20 years ahead, will I still be alive? Yes, you will still be alive. So, so surely, continuous dialogue, very, very important. Connections, very, very important. And sustained guidance. I thank you. And Angela, anything you have for us? You don't have photos, what? I don't know if you don't need a group photo of us somewhere outside? Tomorrow? Okay. Thank you. And members, I really appreciate your time here. I thank you for coming on time, and thank you for being attentive and committed. Tomorrow is going to be marvelous and quite technical in terms of the discussions. Come with an open mind. Mentees will be around, like I said, and our mentees have been coached to be as open as we have been today, even more open. So don't feel bad when they are open, but it is for the benefit of us all and them to learn and also to improve ourselves. I thank you and I wish you a very great evening. We meet tomorrow. Yeah, enjoy such workshops which end on time and begin on time. Right. Thank you guys for putting this up and bless you. Networking is free of charge. The swimming pool can go and enjoy. There is a gym.